Welcome to the Orange Tea, where we explore what it means to be T-shaped professionals, broad in perspective, deep in expertise, and abreast of innovation. Hosted by Stephen M. Perry, founder and CEO of Kymanox, we unpack ideas that shape the future, build exceptional teams, and create lasting impact. From thought leadership on performance and wellness to insights into modern healthcare, this is your space to think holistically and grow intentionally, just like the people who make Kymanox a leader in the life science industry.
Welcome to the Orange Tea. Today, my guest is Caleb Thornton of Seed to Table. Caleb, I would love for you to explain your journey to life science. Before you talk about Seed to Table, tell us about how you got exposed to the life science side of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say this love for life science started kind of by meeting you through Jim Roberts and going down to those Wilmington events with New and really engulfing myself in the ecosystem. And then when after we held our first event, I just saw these kind of heartstrings were formed through when you're investing for tech and these other communities that we were helping raise for, there just wasn't as big of an impact on the people. And we saw that with life science, and you're making a real difference for patients, around the world. And that was extremely meaningful to us. And ever since, we've just been doing that. So
that's great. Tell us a little bit about Seed to Table. What kind of an organization is that? Why did you start Seed to Table? What's the value proposition?
Yeah, absolutely. This was a brainchild that I came up with where we found two problems that we were trying to solve. A lot of people go to these conferences nowadays and they just don't get that impact up on stage and at the conference that they used to. They spend 5 minutes on stage. When they get off stage, majority of their audience is service providers and they need real capital. And so on the other end, the VCs go to these conferences and they go to the dinners and the lunches, but they don't really stay around for the events at the conference. And so you're not getting that opportunity in face-to-face with those investors. And so we're taking a curated approach to how we go forth and curate a room to fit the investment thesis of not only the investors, but the startups as well. They're matchmaking them together. So
yeah, I think what's interesting, Caleb, is you created this company post-COVID, and it's really an in-person experience. I know you have a digital team. I know you're very into technology. And when you're not, supporting life science businesses, it's health tech, which is a type of life science. And then it's just straight up tech. Explain to me the value and the logic of curating these in-person events when everyone is just phoning everything in, just like our viewers right now, over a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that people want for that interaction. And so the reason we, pulled our events around community and gatherings together is that, there's that impact over, dinner that we have. There's that impact of interacting, eating, and mingling with people that are in your same ecosystem and vertical that really is impactful. And so it changes the narrative instead of through a computer screen. You're in person, you're eating, you're breaking bread together, and you're talking about not only your problems, but how to move forward on those problems.
Yeah. And I think there's a vulnerability, when you're eating with somebody. I also heard a rumor that there may be alcohol at your events. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. Each startup has their own icebreaker cocktail, we call them. And so startups come up with their own creative cocktail for the evening. And so they relate it to their business, and it's kind of an icebreaker in the room. So you can see an investor with your cocktail and say, hey, thanks for showing me support already. And
so when you got started, I know your focus was in North Carolina, and you gave me this line, Caleb, I'm humble. I'm going to go one step at a time. And then next thing I know, you're running an event in Philly, and then you're running an event in DC. You're talking about Boston, LA, Atlanta. How does location make a difference when you're running these events where you're trying to curate founder CEOs who are looking for either, formation capital or growth capital? And then you've got ecosystem catalysts in the room. And then the ultimate what makes everything work, which puts the gas in the car, is the investors. You're pulling all that together. How is it different from those different locations that I mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we first came out into producing the seed to table events, we realized very fast that North Carolina wasn't going to cover all the ground. And so we looked towards other industry to highlight the experts in each community. And so we went to Philly for the digital therapeutic side, and we go to Boston for life science. We look to DC for GovTech and aerospace. And so we're finding value in going to those ecosystems and, specializing in specific verticals because the investors are there. And so, just like Miami, we're opening up, it's going to be, crypto. And so it's a rich market, and it's elevating. Just because you're planted in North Carolina doesn't mean that the investors for what you've created is in North Carolina. You've got to go out and sometimes unground yourself from the pot that you're in to grow bigger than the environment you're around. And so reaching out and going to other communities and finding that capital elsewhere sometimes is the answer.
Yeah, and I know for life science in particular, I think North Carolina investors are a little unrealistic. I think they expect you to have a little bit more data, a little bit more proven science than what's really achievable. And they just tend to be slow with the checks. Yeah. And so what's interesting is you've got funds like Cape Fear Capital. So shout out to those three founders. They're doing amazing things. They're betting on this North Carolina ecosystem, specifically RTP. I think that's where a lot of it's centered. And I don't think they're going to not accept checks from out of state, right? And so while there's a lot of opportunity in North Carolina, I do feel like the investors need to step up. And by the way, if the last check you wrote was in 1985, you're not an active investor, and don't call yourself that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing it everywhere we go. We're trying to amplify kind of the voice of the entrepreneurs, and in each ecosystem we have, the biggest problem that, it's not just here in North Carolina. You go to every ecosystem, they're complaining about capital and how to get to it. And so it's about formulating and understanding the market and then coming together with a plan of how do you get to that capital. And so I think it's, less about, once again, being a subject to your environment and more about understanding how you can go elsewhere. Sometimes it's not always going to be in your backyard. And so you've got to venture out sometimes to find exactly what your company's looking for.
Yeah. And Caleb, you get an opportunity to meet with the CEOs directly in a very intimate kind of setting where they're vulnerable. They're telling you what their challenges are and how they need to raise capital, how much capital they need to raise. And I'm sure over the years you've been able to give these founders and CEOs advice. What's the most common piece of advice you're giving out to these people over the last couple of years?
Yeah, you have to be able to form and move with the essential, who is your current client? What are they saying back to you? Are you moldable to, are you able to be reshaped in the environment of the vertical that you're going into? Everybody goes into starting their...
Could you give us an example?
Yeah, I mean, seed to table directly.
So this is like you following your own advice.
This is me, us following our own advice. Like it happened right off the bat where, we started these sit down dinners, and it kind of shifted here recently. We listened to, our clients. They reach out to us and they talk about what would make their experience at seed to table better. And it went from, doing a sit down dinner to now doing heavy hors d'oeuvres afterwards. And so we're constantly, networking in that end piece. We're still, we have the setup of dinner. And so it's still there and present, but I had to, you have to swallow that ego and leave it at the door and say, yes, this is my brainchild. Yes, this is my baby, but I have to be able to be moldable to the environment and listen to my clients. And so that's a hard thing as an entrepreneur to do, to sometimes swallow your pride and say, you know what, this isn't the best way to do it.
Yeah. And I, Kymanox and myself have been along the journey. And so I remember one of the earlier seed to table events. I'm like, man, these linen napkins, how much are we paying? How much are we paying for this? And Kymanox was one of the sponsors. And my lovely bride of 25 years, Sarah Perry, was joining. And it was great because right at my side was my wife. And, salads came out, appetizers came out, soup came out. Caleb is a former culinary person. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
The entrees come out, the dessert comes out. But you're stuck with whoever you're next to. And so I love that format change.
Yes.
While that first one was great, I think I got a date night credit.
Yeah.
Sarah, did I get a date night credit? But I love the change in format. And I do think people were questioning, it's like, well, wait a minute, I thought seat to table was a fine dining, sit down experience. And you just pivoted and never looked back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The other example I think is panels. Could you talk about panels?
Yeah, we found an opportunity where if you can get behind the entrepreneurs that just pitched up on stage and bring industry experts onto stage and talk about who was just on stage and say, just giving validation to those people. We had an ex CTO up on stage from eBay that gave validation to a product that was just pitched, and that is forever valuable to them. And so it's one of those things where the first panel we ever produced, we were like, wow, the impact, the validation that, and shout out to Tom Fisher, giving him, out on stage, him giving that validation was massive. And it was meaningful that entrepreneur came back to me and they were like, I can't believe that just happened. And so, yeah, it was powerful. And so we knew we had to do panels from then on out.
Just want to be sensitive. There's two dudes talking. We're talking about capital. We're talking about life science. It tends to still be a male-dominated space. Tell me about some of the female leaders in your organization and some of the things that you do for female founders that might be a little bit different, or maybe people just don't know about.
Yeah. I mean, Seed to Table doesn't just walk the walk, they talk the talk. And so we come, forward facing. Our executive team is 50-50 female to male, and we live it not just through that attribute. We've did an all female founders event, and it was meaningful to us because I got up on stage and I kind of talked about our greatest mentor. And so I gave the qualities and the attribute of my mentor, and you would strongly think that it was going to be a male, and it's not. It's a female. And so we here at Seed to Table, it's very meaningful to us to support our female founders out there. And we put female founders first at every Seed to Table event. And we do that by every opening pitch to a Seed to Table event is a female founder. And so that is so important to us. And that's the best way that we can put female founders first. And so,
yeah. And I was at that DC event where it was all female founders, and it really wasn't advertised, but it was like, wow, wait a minute. And you kind of went through. And one of the things I noticed was the quality. So you were able to find female founders that met a very, very high standard. Yes. And got investors excited, got the ecosystem catalysts all kind of rallying behind the cause. All right. So what's some of the advice that you feel like is the hardest for these founders to follow, where it's repetitive and you're repeatedly disappointed that they're not following that advice?
I really think, moving in, seeing founders go out there and look for capital. I think as they open up, the moat is one of those things that's so broad and so massive, and entrepreneurs tend to bring up, oh wait, there's more moments. And so I steal that from you is because in a commercial, oh wait, there's more. It's one of those moments. You should probably save that for due diligence. You should probably save that for future conversations. You really don't want to bring that front and center. Think of it like dating. You don't want to bring too much baggage on the first date. If it comes out on the 9th and 10th, 11th date,
you're allowed a personal item, no carry-on, no luggage, no check baggage.
I think
I agree.
Yeah, I think it just you've got to have focus, and so these investors are looking for entrepreneurs they're looking for a jockey that's focused on the mission. And when you've got a tip of the spear, and yes, you may have a massive moat and things that are going for you in the future, I would leave those in the background. They're white noise, and so you've really got to forward focused on the mission, and you've got to drive across the value. And so
so I think what's interesting in life science, you have these companies that are called platform companies. It may be a platform for formulation. It may be a platform for a dose delivery system. It may be a platform for some digital therapeutic. And they are selling the platform, and they're like, my goodness, our total addressable market is this big, and it's just billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it's like, okay, where are you going to start? So one of the things that I found, and I think we agree on, is you got to have focus. So if you're a platform company, tell me about the first product that you're going to launch in your platform. And then you have a validated platform because you have a successful launch in your platform. And now, but wait, there's more. We own the whole platform and we can do so much more. And I do think people kind of get carried away. They show off too much too early. And I feel like as an investor, so I'm also an investor in LP, I get nervous. And I'm sure you're seeing some of the same things.
Yeah. I mean, you want to know where your money's going. And so when you've got 8 different things on the table, those are, we were just talking about this, on our last call, you look at a $3 million deal, it looks like 40 million when you bring the moat into the room. And so you take a smaller investment, and for an investor, it looks very large. And so he's thinking, this guy's asking 3 million. Where's that going to be divided between this $40 million moat? And so it's a struggle.
Yeah. What about the long game that's involved with the work? I feel like there's so much excitement and energy in the room at a seat to table event. It seems like everything's imminent, but then you and I know we've been doing this together now for a little bit of time. It takes some time. I think in the bathroom we were prepping, and you mentioned like 50 meetings, right? As like a threshold for having success.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about that psychology and the role patience plays for these founder CEOs?
Absolutely. I think when you're out there and you're looking for capital, and you've got to motivate yourself. And so one of the things that I did motivating myself when we went to go raise capital is that the average amount of meetings in pre-seed to seed to find your first check is 50 meetings. And so if you're tuning in and you're listening and you've been looking for capital and you've had 5 meetings and you've had 10 meetings, just know, motivate yourself. You're 40 meetings away from that check. And so if you come at it from that angle, instead of looking, oh my goodness, I've got all these things to do, so many meetings to make. But if you set it as a goal, you get down the list, you're like, I'm 20 away. I'm 20 meetings away till it happens.
Yeah.
And
Can I change the vernacular there? I'm 20 no's away.
Yeah.
So can you talk about the no's
yes.
and the maybes and the yeses?
Absolutely. The second best answer is a quick no. And so I think one of the things that I despise most in kind of the investment ecosystem is the maybes. And so I think you've got to be aggressive. When you hear the maybes or let's keep talking kind of answers after that first meeting, you've really got to pressure and put the pressure on for a yes or no, because you want to clear your headspace. And so a no equals moving on to new opportunities. And so it's relieving, it's refreshing. And, a no is good in my book if it's quick.
All right. What advice do you hand out that you think is the most warmly received, and that is the most universal?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think warm advice is that when you're going out there into different communities and you're looking for value to be pulled into your business and to your corporation, you've really got to pull. A lot of people are looking for capital when they go out to raise. And the thing that I think is valuable insight is that a partner, a friend in an ecosystem can help take you further than an investment sometimes. And we see all these entrepreneurs reaching for just capital, and they go to these events and these conferences and they're reaching for capital at those conferences. If you would reach for a partner, if you would reach for a client, you de-risk that investment. And so it really helps move the needle. And so you reaching and finding an investor at that opportunity is at a conference is low. You're usually meeting somebody for years to come. Investors will follow you, and they may wait a year before they engage, before they see you, and they're going to follow you, and they're going to study you, and they're going to understand the ins and outs of who you are as a founder. And so in the meantime, do everything you can with every opportunity. Don't look at somebody that comes up to you from, one of my best partners right now is Georgetown. I mean, they absolutely changed the dynamic in the way that we move in the DC market. And so it has been life-changing for us. And so you don't look at at a partner we didn't when we first started as like an impact maker. And it absolutely, Jeff Reed changed the way that we move in DC, and it's been powerful.
Yeah, that's great. I think too, if you think about that whole journey that you're on, you need to kind of navigate expectations. So I think when people go in with really high expectations that I'm going to walk away with all these checks and my round's going to be closed right after Caleb serves dessert, I think it's the wrong expectation. I think if you're managing to happiness in your life, the key is to aim high for your ambition, but keep your expectations low. And some of the coaching I've been giving out to the people that are seeking my advice is keep those expectations low, and let me even lower the bar further. Rather than looking for a partner, look for networking. And then instead of like bragging about how many business cards or how many LinkedIn, QR codes you were able to scan that evening, go for quality instead of quantity. And I think if you make that kind of the expectation, then you're pleasantly surprised. And what people don't realize is over the long game, which can be, I've seen some investors watch companies for 2 or 3 years before they get in, which costs that investor a lot of money, but then they invest with confidence. You're playing this real long game that has this compounded interest that pays off like a good Warren Buffett investment.
Yes.
So would you agree with that approach?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Find the right people to surround yourself with. And so, I mean, our friendship and relationship with Common through sponsorship has been one of the most rewarding experiences as well. And so being able to help and being able to stand side by side, our sponsorship was never you leading the charge. And so going through that, our first few meetings, like you were always side by side with me. And like, I totally appreciate that. It's one of those things where you usually get a sponsor or you get somebody and they're trying to lead the charge or follow, show you the direction of what they need. And you've been like side by side, like we're in this together. And that's been, extremely powerful as well, is like moving that needle, having somebody that's going to stand beside you, not in front of you or behind you is next level.
Yeah, I think the other thing about our relationship, and I think this is how I've been behaving later in my career, is try not to make everything so transactional.
Yeah.
So I think you and I will do a lot of just exchanging help, and we're not like keeping score. So, if you're married, you're not supposed to keep score and like, I changed this number of diapers. I went to I got groceries this many times. I took out the trash this many times. If you're doing that at home right now, that is, you probably go see a marriage counselor. That's not necessarily going to work out.
Yeah.
Same is, I think, with these partnerships. And a partnership is an advanced relationship. And I feel like if people can practice that, where yes, eventually there needs to be a duality, so that it's a two-way street and not just a one-way street. But if you don't make it transactional, by your nature, you're keeping the expectations low, and then you're allowing the most opportunity to happen. So I think around us, just over the last 2 years, a lot of great opportunity happened, and it wasn't like you and I counting everything, right? And I think that's another important thing. All right, what's next for Seed to Table? You guys are kind of in a growth stage.
Yeah.
I know you're expanding geographically. What's kind of next for you right now?
Yeah, I think LA is a big market for us. We're heading into LA this year, October, and so it's happening. And we're heading into Atlanta, September 25th. And so get ready, Atlanta. We're coming your way. We, also breaking ground in Miami in November. And so these are big steps for us, new markets, new relationships. And we could not be more excited. So,
and what sponsor helped you think the most for all these geographical reach?
Yeah, absolutely Common. And so
no. So I think there's somebody that's helping you get on an airplane.
Oh, Delta. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, to get to the places. Yeah. Delta is definitely helped us more than anything. And so their sponsorship has meant the world to us. And so Nicole, if you're watching, thank you so much. And so she is absolutely carefree. It's the best experience in the world. She's got her team set up for us. And so I send her where we need to go, and she makes sure we go there. And so next week, as an example, we have meetings and out in Vegas. And so we're breaking ground on the West Coast. And so she makes it seamless.
Yeah. And what's so interesting, I think I got introduced to Delta through First Flight Venture Center, which Common also is a sponsor. And I never thought of like Delta participating in this like entrepreneurial ecosystem, but my understanding and impression of Delta has completely transformed over the last year. And then trust me, it feels so good. We go to a Seed to Table event and there's the Delta logo, and right next to it's the Common logo. And they're about the same size, and not that I'm looking, Caleb.
Yeah.
And everyone recognizes Delta, and it's a premium brand. And it's anyone who's doing business has to get on an airplane at some point. You can't just phone in the deals. It doesn't work that way.
They're backing their entrepreneurs. They're backing the startup ecosystem, and it's powerful. And
and think about it. Their whole business model is people want to interact person to person, face to face, and that's your whole premise. Is like, hey, we're gonna bring all the right people in the room.
Correct.
One of your amazing talents, and I think I've never seen anyone like this, is not just curating the menu. So I know you have your hand in selecting the drinks and the appetizers and the the different hors d'oeuvres, the heavy hors d'oeuvres, but you curate the room. And if you don't think there's demand for seed to table events, often 100 or 200 or even up to 300 people are refused entry to the event. So like they put their name on the RSVP list, they're evaluated, they don't even make it. Talk about a little bit for the audience how to curate a room.
Yeah, I think you have to be intentional. A lot of people that throw events, they get very scared near that month mark where they have this expectation of a set amount. And so when you start setting guidelines for yourself, I know I speak from experience because I've had these fears. And so you get to that 1 month mark from your event and you're promoting and pushing for 150 guests and you've got 60 and you're like, oh man, maybe this person will work in the room. Maybe this person will work. I think the most important piece to all that is something that you talked about briefly is quality. And so as we push forward to these, bigger and greater events, yes, we get more powerful people in the room, but we're also, if we had a room of 90, just as an example, if we had a room of 90 people, if we added another 60 just from the list because we wanted to look successful through, quantity, that 90 would then be distracted by that 60 in the room. And so a lot of people forget that there's a lot of distractions out there. And so when you get 90 of the right people in the room, every interaction is meaningful and every interaction moves the needle for that startup company. And so I think when you're pushing for, a private event like we do, you have to be very diligent on like holding up the standard and holding it high and not pivoting it because you're scared about the number that's going to be in the room.
Yeah. I mean, so I want to send your business card to all these conference coordinators in life science where I show up at the conference and it's just a bunch of service providers selling to each other and we're not buyers, right? And so it's the drug companies, it's the med tech companies, it's the biologics companies that are advancing modern medicine. And those are the people we want to serve, but no one's curating it. So you just end up having a really awful experience and everyone you run into is the person you don't want to run into.
Correct.
And so I just think having that humility to not go for the ego number and like, hey, I want to have 200 people at my event. It's like having a curated 90 is so impactful. And what's interesting is I get an opportunity to catch people right at the end of the event and how many people unsolicited just say, oh my gosh, that was a transformative experience. This is nothing like what I expected. And that was the most effective use of my time. And so I think you've really done something special there, Caleb. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Okay. The other thing you should be proud of yourself. I had the honor of getting to know your wife.
Yeah.
And I know she's in the business.
She is.
A little story about Kymanox is Sarah Perry, my wife. She helped co-found the business. She basically had every job at Kymanox that didn't involve, science and engineering and program management, but she basically held every other position. She financially helped the business. She was my psychological coach. And really Kymanox wouldn't be the company it is today without her. Explain to you, and I don't think necessarily she got all the credit as a co-founder. How does your wife play a role in Seed to Table?
Oh my gosh. So my wife is the coach. I'm the quarterback. So I get to go out there and make the plays. And so she helps make sure that everything off the field is kind of where it needs to be and in place. And so she's setting me up for success around every corner. She's seeing and analyzing the ecosystems that we're going into. And she chooses not only our event locations now, she also helps curate the room. And so she's been a massive impact to our success. And so having somebody that I can lean on and know that's, going to be there for me at all times, and it being my wife is just, it's icing on the cake.
Yeah, I think so. Partners, and if you're a female founder, I'm sure the husband's also playing a big role. All right, so Caleb, we're going to wrap this up. Yeah. I want to end on this. You're raising capital. Yeah. I hear a rumor that you may have been successful.
Yes.
But in this process, what's one thing that you learned that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think when you're going out there looking for capital, be more intentional. When you're looking at the investors that you're going to meet, be intentional by getting to know their investment thesis, understanding who they are as individuals, learn that they, possibly are into sports, maybe into football, maybe they're a fan of the Irish. And so those are the kind of things that you have to do. You have to take it a step further in that relationship. If they hear 100 pitches a day. And so if you're not being intentional and meaningful and learning about the investor that you're going to meet, who's going to impact your business, 10x, you shouldn't be having that meeting. And
I love it. I love being intentional. I set every meeting. I decide what's my intention for this meeting. My intention right now is to close the Orange Tea podcast. And I can't wait, Caleb, to have you on again.
Thank you.
And follow you and follow all the success. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on the Orange Tea. Remember, at Kymanox, we believe in small, capable, T-shaped teams driving innovation and progress through broad and deep thinking. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or your favorite listening app. For more information about Kymanox, visit kymanox.com. That's KYMANOX.com. Let's continue building and growing together with intention. Until next time on the Orange Tea.